Welcome to another stock market update. Today is Saturday, August 19, 2017. Hope you're enjoying the weekend. The market this week continue its pullback that we have been warned couple weeks ago. And right now it seems like that pullback has not been finished yet. And we most likely will continue to see further pullback on the market. And so let's first take a look at this chart here that I have on the screen. I post this chart on Twitter, I believe on Thursday, and pointing out that it broke this trend line and it came down. It was still a little bit shy of filling this gap. And on Friday, as you can see, that the gap got completely filled. And also I point out that the VIX was still basically looking for the VIX to stay up here at this elevated level a little bit longer. And I am even expecting it to see it go higher than this peak here, which is 1405. And as you can see on the cumulative advanced decline, the New York advanced decline line, it is moving in sync with the market. As the market pulled back, so is the advanced decline. So also a lot of the other market internal, the breadth indicator is also pulling back. And I have tweeted numerous times on Twitter that saying don't let the stuff on the surface deceive you, because there are a lot of breadth indicator underneath the surface is showing deterioration. So that's why I am continue to be cautious in this market and looking for further downside before it stabilize and possibly make a stand and maybe turn around. But for now, it is still seems to be pointing downward. So we just have to continue to monitor and continue to be cautious. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the individual index here. First, start off with the Dow Jones Industrial. Remember last week we were saying that basically we're looking for this gap, these gap to be get filled. So you can see that it came down. It did make a little run. All right, did make a little run up, and we're saying if it come up, that's the all-time high, will basically be the resistance. But it came up and got a little bit of a shooting star type of spinning top. Then it gapped down on Thursday, and Friday basically just got a continuation down. So right now we're still looking at this level here, the 21,467.9. Essentially looking for this gap to get filled, and then we'll see how it bounces. Then we start monitoring this 21,070.9 once it get down to this level, and then see what kind of reaction the market will have. Before we proceed, let's also take a weekly look on the weekly chart. You can see on the weekly Dow Jones Industrial here, and you can see that it's a after the previous week, which we have an engulfing candle, like essentially it's an outside day. Then right now we're getting a one-time framing down. And also looking at the Dow Theory chart here, the Dow Jones Industrial on the top and the Dow Transportation, you can see that is actually it is moving in sync right now with each other. As it go up, got a little bounce here. It's also got a little bounce on the Dow Jones, and that's pull back. Make a intermediate, pull back low on the transportation. So the Dow Jones Industrial. So nothing new here. It just further confirmed that the downside is confirmed by each other, the Dow Jones Theory, the transportation, and the industrial. Okay, so as you can see on this Dow Transportation Index, we're essentially looking for it to come down to somewhere around this 8,744 0.36. Right now it's booked this 9,111.45. So probably see the continuation of downside moving toward the 8,744.36. And looking at the S&P 500, the S&P 500, remember, was saying that look for this range here, this Thursday range will give us the clue which way you're going to go. And if it's going to break above this range, we're essentially looking for the all-time high, as the resistance. And as you can see that it's trying to make it up there, but on Thursday it kind of gave us a little bit of a spinning top, and then on Wednesday give us a spinning top, and then on Thursday it essentially just pulled all the way back down and came down and filled this gap. So right now we are essentially looking at this level here, the 2,405.70. That's the level that we're looking at right now for potential support. Again, when it comes down here, we want to see how this thing bounces before we start looking at this or monitoring this 2,352.72. Okay, so that's basically what we're looking at on the S&P 500. And then on the weekly, you can see on the weekly, a couple of weeks ago we got a little bit of a like an NR7, and then we got this big engulfing candle pulling down. So right now it just continues its way down with a one-time framing down on the weekly. And taking a look at the NASDAQ 100. The NASDAQ 100, again, we're also looking at that Thursday range, basically this candle here, saying if it go above, then we'd be looking at this possible resistance, and then all-time high will be the target resistance here. As you can see, also, it's basically just along with all the other major market indexes. On Wednesday, it made an early run to the to a higher level, and then pull back and close right in the middle of the range for that day, and pretty much a spinning top type of a candle. Then on Thursday, the bottom kind of fell off a little bit, and so right now we're essentially looking for this thing to come down to this level, the 5,749.65, and looking for this gap to get filled, and see how we're going to do when it comes down to this 5,568.47. So that's basically what we're looking at, and the resistance will basically up at this pivot high here. Okay, and looking at the weekly, see the weekly is also one-time framing down. Okay, and let's go look at the Russell 2000. Right, the Russell 2000, remember that little price channel that we've been monitoring, and got a little bounce. Right, got a little bounce on Monday. I guess that probably have trapped some of the long that people are playing this, thinking this, look below and fell, and it got a little pop here, and then it tried to come up to this level here, 1,396.9. Okay, it kind of fell short on that, and you can see that it just continued to come down, and right now is sitting here. Right now it is sitting near this 1,351. So I'm going to be continue to monitor this to come down to this 1,334.3 and see how this thing will bounce once it get down to this particular support level here. If it can't hold that support level, you notice that there's a little gap here that also waiting to be filled. But eventually we're probably looking at level down here. But we're going to wait until it comes down to this level and see how it bounces before we even take a look at any lower level for potential support, because there are quite a few level down here that could act as a intermediate support. So first thing first is we want to see would it be able to hold this this support level here, and then see what kind of bounce that we're going to get. Okay, so also looking at the weekly, again, you see the weekly on the Russell 2000, it essentially been one time framing down for the last 3 weeks. So that is not a good sign, and it doesn't show much of a strength. And if we take a look at the New York Composite, so if we take a look at the New York Composite just quickly, and again, we're essentially looking at this thing coming down here, try to hold support at this 11,678.9, and we are going to continue to monitor this to see how it's going to hold this support. We're essentially looking for this thing to come, somewhere down in this area here. Okay, so let's go take a look at some of the ETF, and we'll take a look at the SPY. Looking at the spider, I haven't updated the open interest data yet to get a preliminary read to see where are some of the potential pin level for next Wednesday and next Friday. But in regardless, we could take a look at the price chart here, and if we take a look at this chart, remember last week we were saying that look for this range here. If break above this range, then be watching the all-time high as a potential resistance. You can see that it came up here and pulled back and now fill this gap. So we're essentially watching this 239.96 next week. Essentially 240. Okay, 240 to see would it be able to hold that 240. If it's not, then we're basically looking at 235.43, this particular level here. All right, and looking at the QQQ here, again we were essentially looking for that Thursday range, right? This candle here, and if we break above, we were looking for this level as first level resistance, and then the possibility of that all-time high being get tested. And you can see it didn't make it up to this particular resistance level, this pivot high, and it's pulling back. And right now we're looking for this gap to get filled. So we're looking for it to come down to 139.96, essentially 140. If it comes down to low 140, we're essentially looking for this gap to get filled. And once this gap get filled, then the next level of potential support, we'll be looking at 135.80. Okay, so that's the Q. And here's the IWM, the Russell 2000. So let's zoom this in a little bit. Here it's sitting right at this 134.23. I'm looking at this 131.89, this level coming down to this level here. If it could hold this 134.23, then I'm looking for this to get back into this price channel, and this 139.01 or the 139 will be the resistance. Essentially is the support turn into resistance level right now. So that would be the first level of resistance there, 139.01 in that area. So we're basically looking for the 134.23. If it doesn't hold, then we are looking at 131.89 or essentially 132. Okay, so that's the index and the ETF. Oh, let's take a look at the IWMC on the weekly. Is this one time framing down. Okay, again, that's the index. And let's take a look at some of the stock that we've been following. And the first one is Apple. And we can see, let me zoom this in. Let's get that a little zoomed in. First, take a look at the weekly candles. You see the weekly, it is still one time framing up, although it closed almost sort of unchanged there. Let me see, what is this level here? The close on the previous week is 157.48. So, and the close here is 57.50. So it closed 2 cents above previous week. Whoopie-doo. Okay, let's go and take a look at the daily here. Okay, again, we're essentially talking about this candle. If it breaks above this high, then we're essentially looking for a new high or the possibility of testing the recent all-time high. And you can see that it did get above the previous all-time high and actually closed at a new all-time high here. Okay, so right now it is coming down. and we're basically looking for it to retest this level 154.63, and if we get below that, then we're still looking for this gap to get filled at 150.22. Okay, so those are the near-term level that we'll be watching. And here's the critical support here. One of the critical support is 147.30. Okay, 147.3. All right, and if we take a look at Facebook, okay, Facebook again, we're essentially looking for this price to hold at this level. Strangely enough, all these three candle, the low, these 3 days have the same low. Okay, and the low is 166.85. So keep an eye on that level, 166.85. Okay, so because these 3 days they have the same low here. Okay, all right, 166.85. All right, it did move below that on Friday, but the pin was 167.50. Okay, that was my pin. I did not tweet it out, but that was my pin that I was looking at, the pin that I was looking at. So anyway, it closed back above this 166.85. All right, so I'm looking for this thing to continue to move down and fill this gap, and then possibly work its way down to this 156.20. Okay, to this gap here. Okay, that's basically what we're looking at, this gap here. Okay, so unless it come up and be able to take out this pivot high, then I'll be looking at these resistance once again. But right now, this right here, we got a little bit of the descending trend line. Okay, and you can see that it could, you can make a case that it's a little bit of a descending triangle here. Okay, so that is Facebook, and then I got Netflix. Netflix, remember we were saying that we're basically looking for this this low here, right? This low. Okay, if we break below this low, then we're essentially watching this level here to see how it could provide the support. And right now it dipped below that, and also I'm saying that there's a high probability that this gap will get filled and will come down to this 163.55. So I'm still looking for this gap to get filled, and once it gets filled, then I'm going to see how it bounces, and then determine what the next level for potential support or resistance might be. So right now I'm still kind of monitoring for this particular gap to get filled, and if it's going to bounce up, then I'll be looking at this particular gap to be in play. Okay, so let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon here was talking about getting below this level. Then we'll take a look at this 927. Still, it was able to hold above the 951. Okay, but unable to get back above these level here. Okay, so right now it seems to have established a new resistance level with the 191.74 here, this particular pivot high. So if it could get above this pivot high, then maybe it could work itself back up and try to fill this gap. But if it break this 951, which I'm still monitoring, then I expect it to come down to this 927. Right? Okay, so that's basically what I'm looking at. And then on Tesla, originally we had a bear flag, which is this right here, right? And then it broke. Then we thought this was a bear flag in play, and it come down looking at this 290 level. But it turned out to be a false breakout or breakdown, and actually came back. Then we're saying that once it get up, to this level, we expect to see this gap to get filled. As you can see, the gap got filled, and then when it continued to move up, we're looking at this potential resistance, and as you can see, it got close to it, and then it started pulling back. So right now, it pulled back, and essentially, I got a channel here. You could make it whatever you want, but it's just a little bit of a visual effect only, so it doesn't mean anything. And essentially, I'm looking for this Tesla to come back and test this level here, this 343.15. If it dipped below that, then essentially we're looking for this thing to move down and fill this gap down to the 327.12. Okay, so we'll kind of monitor this, and if it could get a bounce here, then again we're basically looking at this 371.35 as potential resistance, and if we could break above that, then we'd be looking at the possibility of come back up to test the all-time high at 389.99. Okay, so also last week I kind of alluded to a fact that about gold, and show a little bit of a GLD. Still not trading GLD off the GLD chart, but one could do that because simply just too many gap there, and that's the reason why I was saying that I like to look at the gold future chart to get a little gauge. And you can see that it went above the 1300 last week. Been quite a while, and as a matter of fact, it went above this resistance level here at 1305.80. Let's see what the high was for last week. The high was 1306.90. Okay, and then it kind of pulled back. You see, it's got a little bit of a long wick shooting star type of candle. But don't let that discourage you, because I think gold is making a run, or could be starting a new run here. Here's the weekly. All right, let's go and take a look at the monthly, because we were looking at the monthly last week to get a longer term type of a chart here. Okay. All right. And we're basically looking at breaking this long-term trend line. This is a multi-year trend line going all the way back. The peak was somewhere around at the middle or the end of, third quarter or so of 2011, okay, 2011. So that's been quite a while, since, this trend line kind of been building, right? So right now we're essentially looking at this trend line getting tested. And if we could break out cleanly above this 1300 level, then we be looking at this 1400 somewhere. Okay, so that's basically what I'm looking at on the gold. And if you want to go and trade some of the gold, then you might want to look at some of the gold mining stock or the ETF. And maybe at some point in the near future, I do a video, and then we just kind of focus on looking some of the price level on some of those gold and the gold miner. Okay, so that's it for the week, and hopefully you had a safe week, and maybe also hopefully you have a profitable week. That if you have taken some of the cautionary sign from the market and from my video. So if you like the video, please click on the thumbs up and subscribe to my video channel here at YouTube. And if you have any comment or some of the stock or things that you like me to take a look. Now, I'm not guaranteed that I will take a look and post another video, but if I view that it's interesting to share with other viewers and other followers, then I will consider putting that up on the next video, or even post some of my commentary with the chart on Twitter. Okay, so thank you for watching, and enjoy your weekend.